Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friendly Show. I am your host and friend, Leigh. Okay, so what are we doing this month? This month, we are doing a theme around simplifying our lives. It's called Simplify in July. If you're new to the show, welcome, welcome. I'm really excited that you're here. The way that we do the show is we have a theme, or we do like a series, I guess you could call it, every month where we kind of have one idea that we're going to be talking about. And then every week, we look at that theme through the lens of one of the pillars of the happy framework. And so today we're going to be talking about partnerships and how to simplify those partnerships. And what a partnership is simply the relationships that we have with just about anybody. So our romantic relationships, but also our, friend relationships, our family, even just people that are in passing. And so I think tonight is going to be a really good conversation. I'm really hoping that you guys that are watching live are going to be able to take part in this, because your comments, your questions, you really make the show what it is. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, yeah. So Britt is here. Hey, Pops. He says, good evening, young lady. Well, hello, young man. Super excited that you're here. I hope that your beautiful bride is here as well. Something's going on with mine because it's actually saying that I have nobody watching right now, which is not true because clearly you are. And so if you are watching, go ahead and make a comment if you're watching live. If you're watching in the replay, then go ahead and make a comment. And I always am the one that is fielding all the comments. So if you get a response, it is from me. And if you're listening to this on the audio version as an actual podcast, we record live every single Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, or whatever the equivalent is for you. And we do that on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. So hopefully next week I'll see you there. Okay, so let's kind of go through some of the thoughts that I kind of put down about how we can simplify our relationships. One of the big things is, you guys know that the Four Agreements is one of my favorite books. It's been such a guiding principle in my life. It's very simple. And one of the Four Agreements is not to make assumptions. And that is something that we do in relationships. And that's what makes them really hairy. It makes it, we make a lot of assumptions about what other people are thinking, what other people are doing, the motives that they have as to why they're doing it, what people are thinking about us. And the majority of the time, our assumptions are way off. And so one of the ways that we're able to simplify our relationships is if we have an assumption that we're making, because we're human, we're going to make the assumption. Instead of acting on that assumption, ask about the assumption. Okay. So that is like the one thing that has really helped kind of get me out of a lot of what could be drama. I used to make a lot of assumptions and then act on them or not act on them, create resentment around them, create whole personalities of how I thought somebody was based on the assumptions I was making. And now what I do is, I think I've talked about it on the show before, most likely. Brene Brown, she calls it checking your story. And that is really, really important, I think, that we need to be doing that a lot more. Instead of making assumptions, just keep it simple. If you think something, ask about it and you can clear it up. If it is true that it's, what you were thinking was right, now you get to have a conversation about it. If it's not true, then now you just get to wipe that out and you don't have to have the next 2 weeks of making all these stories around that one assumption. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of the time we're very performative. We're very, we're showing up almost like it's a show. Like we need to be a certain way for people to like us, or we need to be a certain way. We need to say certain things. And we put all of this energy around the way that we show up in relationships, all kinds of relationships. And it's just not necessary. So we can simplify that by, instead of like being performative, about our relationships, instead of overcomplicating the connection, instead of trying to do the right thing to be perfect in this relationship, we can just show up as ourselves the best that we can, and we can be present with that person. And we can be a person that they can trust. And in turn, then we will be able to trust people a lot more because we're not hiding anything. And so we're able to kind of like tune into who that person is, right? And so, yeah, we might not be able to trust them because they may not be trustworthy, but you'll be able to see that a lot more because there won't be this performative act around it where your own mask that you're wearing is clouding the whole relationship, if that makes sense. So that's another way that we're able to kind of simplify our relationships. The other thing is wanting, if you have relationships that you want to co-create, that you want to deepen the connection with. And a lot of the time that takes spending time together and hanging out and doing the things that matter most to both of you, right? Being in connection with somebody in person to person, or even the way that we are right now, what happens a lot of the time is we don't show up because, like, let's say I want to invite somebody over. Actually, a perfect example would be my cousin. My cousin came down from Arizona, and he came, visited Jen, and then after we went back to my house. And I was debating, do I invite him back to my house, or do we just go to like a coffee shop, because I have not been keeping up with my dusting and with my perfect arranging of my home. And old me would have been like, oh, I can't bring, this isn't guest ready. The house isn't guest ready. But instead I was like, you know what? I want to connect with him on a deeper level. And there's something about just sitting around your couch, hanging out, as opposed to sitting across a table in a restaurant. And so I just, as soon as we walked in, I was like, welcome to my home. Please put your shoes there on the pile of the rest of the shoes and have at it. And he's family. So he comes from the same type of family that I do, that everything should be dusted and cleaned and vacuumed before people come over. And so I was like, this is not your average, family household. And he was like, oh, heaven forbid. And he kind of like, it let his guard down too, because he was like, okay. And he took his socks off and just jumped on the couch and just got comfy. So when we have these things that, like, our life has to look a certain way in order to entertain, in order to broaden or deepen our conversations or our connections, we're blocking it. And we just really need to simplify it and say what really matters most in this moment. And for me, it was connecting with my cousin, as opposed to what would he think? What is he going to tell the rest of the family? I'm going to have all the shame around it. You're able just to simplify that. So those are just a few things that I want to talk about. I want to find out what your thoughts are. And then the last piece is our emotional clutter. So a lot of the time we've made up not only assumptions, but we have also made up resentments. We've resented people for certain things, and we haven't expressed that. And that becomes a problem as well. And so what I would question is, how can you simplify all of these thoughts and feelings and emotions that you've been harboring, that you've been connecting, creating and holding on to, which a lot of the time the other person has no clue. They're going on with their day, they're living their life, and they have no even idea of the resentments that you're holding, or of these masks that you've been putting on. What are all of these things that you've been holding on to, and what can you kind of declutter in your own being before you step into other relationships? So, and you also want to be looking at the relationships that you do have, that you're spending the most time with, and figuring out which ones are actually energizing you and which ones are draining you. Some of them you may need to still be a part of, even if they are draining you, but maybe you can kind of separate a little bit from those feelings. And then you can spend more time with the people that are energizing you. But a lot of the time, we don't even question it. We're just like, oh, this is my circle and this is who I hang out with. I think it's really important to be able to see who gives you, when you leave them, do you feel like you need to go take a nap, or do you feel like you could take on the world? And we need to start asking ourselves that, because that's going to make our relationships feel a lot more simplified and more peaceful if we're spending the time that with the people that really we connect with, as opposed to the people that we feel obligated to, if that makes sense. So I'm going to kind of leave that there. I want to see what you guys are thinking. Hey, Mel is here. Hello, my beautiful friend. And Darlene is here. Hey, hey, girl. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're here. Okay, this is excellent. So what do you guys think about this? What are some of the things that I have said today that you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really need to start doing this, or I need to stop doing this, or I am, an assumption maker too, and I need to start checking in with those assumptions that I'm making. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. And if you have any other thoughts that you're like, oh, you know what? This is what I do to kind of simplify my relationships. We could get into boundaries. We could get into needs assessments. Like, what needs do you have when you're in relationships? A lot of the emotions that we have are based on the needs that are either met or not met. That's something that I don't know if you've ever heard of nonviolent communication. That's one of their big pillars. That's what their whole thing is all about, is that our emotions arise. They're neither good nor bad. They're just in relation to, are our needs met or not? And so that's another thing that you want to kind of look into, is when we're feeling something or we're having an emotion, what need is not being met? You're not upset the way that you're necessarily the way that your spouse is talking to you or the way that your spouse is behaving. You're more upset because you don't feel seen, you don't feel a connection, or there's a need that you have that's not being met. And so everything around that, the way that they're speaking, that's what it's hitting. And so if you can kind of dive down into what need is not being met and vocalize that and start discussing that and talking about that, then that relationship will either be able to meet that need, you'll be able to meet that need, or that resentment and that anger will still reside. So you need to start having conversations about this. Let us see. Okay, okay. So yes, this is always my favorite part of the conversation, is when you guys are sharing, except for, sometimes StreamYard doesn't want to be nice. There we go. So Darlene says, I agree with you on the drama subject. I am pushing it out of my life. That's excellent. So how are you pushing it out of your life? I'd be really curious, because yeah, we can say no drama here. I don't want drama. But are you looking at the people that just kind of thrive on drama and you're not spending as much time with them? Are you cleaning up your communication so then you don't have the drama that maybe you create? I'd be really curious. What does that mean when you say I'm pushing it out of my life? Because I think we could all benefit from ideas around that. And Mel says, so weird. Come on, StreamYard. Mel says, you have to get to a point where your mood doesn't shift because of the insignificant actions of someone else. That's excellent. That's really good. Yes, I agree with that. And she also says, don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. I do like that. But I will say, if you start looking at your emotions as a kind of guiding post of like what you're actually feeling or what you feel is not being met, it can be a really good indicator of what you're needing. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the times we're like, I don't even know what I need. I don't know what I need in this relationship, but it's just not working. But if we can tap into our emotions a little bit more, instead of just like, you make me feel this way. No, you can start thinking about, why do I feel this way? What need is not do I not feel fulfilled in? What am I feeling I'm missing? So, yeah, we don't want it to overpower our intelligence, but we do want to use it as wisdom that our body is trying to speak to us, and it's speaking to us in emotion. Pop says, oh, by the way, I'm going to go tomorrow to sign up to see if I can get free mental health care. Hey, okay, fingers crossed. I really hope that you can. That would be excellent. So good. Mel says that she's practicing boundaries. Okay, so what does that look like for you? How are you practicing your boundaries? Have you set your boundaries? Do you know what they are? I'd be really, really curious. Also, are you setting boundaries that are like really rigid, or what do your boundaries look like? Okay, and then Darlene says, yes, I am not spending any time with anyone that has drama in their life. Okay, so that's fair, but I will say, because we're friends, I will say that sometimes people have drama in their life, depending on what your definition of drama is. If it's a type of person that's just like, no matter what happens in their life, everything is just like, this big performance. I get it. But if people are going through things and you consider that drama, I don't know. I feel like you could also learn things from that. You could also grow relationships by being with them through the thick and thin. It depends on how you're defining drama. If it's unnecessary drama, then that's a different story. But if it's something like, what I've been going through for the last 6 months, some people might consider that drama like, oh, that's a lot. That's really heavy. But what I've noticed is the friends that really matter to me and will matter to me when this whole thing blows over, those are the people that stayed. And those are the people that showed up during that time, because it wasn't just drama. It was real life, and it wasn't always pretty, but it was, it really showed you. So that would just be my curiosity, Darlene, what that means to you. And just like we talk about all the time on the show, like, it's our words matter. And sometimes we just say things because it's like, it's just the easier way to say it. And maybe there's something deeper. So we really need to start thinking about what that is. Mel says, just small boundaries. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And are they boundaries like that you don't want other people crossing, that you won't put up with? Or are they boundaries of like things that you don't want to cross, that you have non-negotiables around now? Because those are like, both of them are really important. But they're really interesting how when we have boundaries about things that we just won't do anymore, or that we will show up differently now, rather than it's like, I'm not going to put up when they come to me. Instead, it's like, I'm going to put this thing and I'm going to come at these things differently. It's just interesting. Okay, so let us see. I want to, and keep going, you guys, keep going, because this is always my favorite part of the show, is when you guys are sharing. And Darlene, I am so happy you're here. Like, it is so nice to have you sharing all of this, because I haven't been able to have a big conversation with you in a while. So this is really nice. And Mel and Britt, always, I love you. I don't know what I would do if you guys weren't showing up. I'd be like, oh my gosh, the other hosts aren't here. So, okay. Oh, also, let me say my disclaimer. We're a little bit further into the show right now, but I am not a healthcare professional. And so if you hear anything on the show, it's all meant to be education and entertainment purposes. If you hear anything on the show that leads you to think that, oh my gosh, I feel like they're diagnosing me, or I feel like that's a treatment that I need to do, or I feel like that's something that, really resonates with me, please take that to a healthcare professional that better suits your needs. So whether it's a mental health professional or your doctor or a specialist, they're going to know your family history, your medical history, and they'll have a much wider, deeper sense of the issue that's at hand. And so just make sure that you go and reach out to them if you hear anything on the show. Okay. So for the last 10 minutes, because now we do the show for the last few months, it's a half an hour show instead of an hour. We may bring that back, but for right now, it's half an hour. So for the last 10 minutes, what we do is we do the lightning round, get to know your friends. And so I always get ChatGPT to do up the questions because I want to take part in it. And where is it? Where did I put my ChatGPT? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I want to take part in the questions too. And if I made them up, then that's not fair because then they'd be questions that I want to answer. Instead, these are just going to be questions and we're going to answer them together. I'm going to say the top, like the first 3 questions, and you start answering. You can just put one and then write your answer and then hit enter because it's going to take you a while to type them, right? But then we can keep the conversation going. And I will read the questions a couple times. So the first question is, who's one person that you feel 100% safe to be yourself with? Is there somebody that you feel 100% safe to be yourself with? Number 2, what's a small moment of connection that meant a lot to you recently? Ooh, what's a small moment of connection that meant a lot to you recently? It's a good one. And then 3, when do you feel most loved? That's nice. When do you feel most loved? Bless you. So for me, I will answer number 1. Who's one person you feel 100% safe to be yourself with? Okay, so I would probably say me and Mike. So when I'm alone, that's when I feel like I can be like really myself. Like tonight, Mike's not going to be home, and so I'm going to come home and I'm just going to totally be myself, do whatever I want, sing as loud as I want, dance around the living room. Like that's just what my night will be. And so I feel most safe being 100% myself with me and then with Mike. And it wasn't always that way with Mike. That was a learned trust thing. And he kind of pulls that out of me, that he can see where I will shrink in certain situations, and then he will help me come back out. So I'm very, very lucky in that sense. So let's see what you guys have to say. Okay, so. Ooh, okay, let me just see. So Mel says, before we get into the question, she says, like toward my emotions, calmness is becoming mastery. Ooh, nice. Calmness, yeah, I don't know if it's like our age, but peace is way more important to me now than almost any other thing. Success, anything. Peace is really what I'm after. And you're right. It absolutely takes practice. It really does. But boy, yeah, that's a big one. I agree, Mel. So Pop says, Mel, I feel 100% safe being myself. That's excellent. And then I'm going to scoot down here to where Mel says, Britt and me. Okay, so I love that you said and me. I think that's really cool. I think a lot of these questions that we have about like who's your best friend or who do you love the most or all these kinds of questions, most people don't think me. I'm my own best friend. I love myself the most. So I'm really happy, Mel, that you were able to say that. That's really cool. And then number 2, the question was, what's a small moment of connection that meant a lot to you recently? For me, oh man, I've had a lot. You know what? I'm going to say one of our girlfriends, Emily, she came down from Denver, and we had dinner, and there were about 5 of us, and her questions were like so just inquisitive about how we were. It's hard to explain, but she was really, really like really cared about what's going on, and she was very like not careful but considerate in like asking if I was like comfortable talking about certain things, and it was just really nice. That really made me feel good, and really connected to her like on just a deeper level. And then so that's number 2, with a small moment of connection that meant a lot to you recently. So that's it. Em, if you're watching, hey. And number 3, when do you feel most loved? I probably feel most loved when I guess I'm being heard. Like that's like heard for what I'm saying and meaning instead of just what people think I'm saying or the way that they think I should be showing up. When I'm really feeling heard, that's when I feel most loved, I think. Mel says, number 2, I had a workshop with longtime friends who reminded me of who I am when I failed my special ed supplemental test this past week. Oh, I'm sorry, girl. Yeah. I didn't know, but I'm glad you shared that with me. They were very encouraging. Yes. That's amazing. That's so good. And that's hard. You know, we deserve things. We work hard for them. I know that you would be, oh my gosh, it's you should have passed it. I know for sure you should have passed it. But you didn't. And that sucks. That's really, really hard. So I'm really happy that you were surrounded by people that were able to remind you that you're bigger than these tests and that you're a lot more special than this special ed supplemental test. So that's really beautiful, Mel. And then that last question is, when do you feel most loved? So if any of you guys want to answer that, and then we will be rounding up the show. And then next week we are going to be doing the same thing, Simplify in July, and we are going to be doing youthfulness, which will be a really fun conversation. And we are doing Simplify in July all month in the Happy Circle. So if you guys want to come on over and be a part of that, we also have a 22-day practice where every day I give you guys a video and a couple action steps and some neuroscience nuggets around it. And that's been going really, really well. It's nice to kind of have that daily practice to put this in because you guys know the reason why we have that is because one of my favorite quotes is happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. And so we need to be practicing our happiness all the time. We need to be looking for those moments. They exist. They're always around us. We just need to get our brain used to finding them. And so we do that. And so we are into the second week of that 22-day practice. And then let's see here. Okay, so we're rounding out. Let's see what's going on. Okay, good. Mel says, I'm going to do it again. They all said they had to take it twice. Okay, so maybe a money grab, possibly. And then Pop says, number 3 is when I spend time with Mel, I feel most loved. That's beautiful. And then Pop says, you skipped my number 2. What? I didn't even see your number 2. Where is it? I did not see your number 2. Oh, yes, I did. I did miss it. It just jumped, I guess. So Pop says, when Mel was on my side and didn't freak out when I got my denial for disability. That is awesome. See, that is a really cool statement there, Britt. And I'm really sorry about that. But you know what? That's really cool just to feel like, you know what? We're in this together and this sucks. And because not everything is going to work out the way that we want it to work out, but it is an opportunity for us to see where our relationships really are the deepest. And so that is really, really beautiful. You guys, couple goals, man, couple goals right there. And then Mel says, number 3, I feel most loved when my voice is heard too, when I feel validated, daily affirmations. That's beautiful. Yes, that's so awesome. And then Mel says, yeah, a double whammy. Oh, yeah, just not great. And you know what? I think it was it a full moon or a new moon? I don't know. I'm not really good with any of that kind of stuff. I was just going to pretend that I knew, but I don't. Anyway, sorry about that. Hopefully this week you'll get better news for more things, but it is what it is. I used to hate that saying, but it's just true. We're just one day at a time, one moment at a time. This moment that we're all enjoying together is our life. This is what it is. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the show. And we will see you next week for youthfulness. Otherwise, maybe we'll see you in the Happy Circle where I get to see you every single day. And oh, good. Britt, that's awesome. He says, you have a great week. I'm going to race now. Go race, man. That's awesome. I love you, love you, love you. And I will see you next week. Bye.